Hey, well, look who's back already. I'm going to try this. I'm going to start it, and if it goes, it goes. And if it doesn't, sometimes, not very often, but sometimes I'll start these videos and I'll get to a point and it's just not working, and then I stop. We'll see. We'll see. I thought I'd go ahead and see if I can share this. As you know, I'm getting ready to, on Friday night, play my thing DHX. Dereck Higgins experience is what it basically means, which is me and whoever I'm get to play with or not. Sometimes it's me solo. I'm getting ready for that actually, and I'm gonna do this cover. I'm not gonna sing it, but I'm just kind of getting the backing track together. Yeah, that sounds like that's pretty solid to me. I'll stop it there because again, I don't know if it's gonna fly or not. I'm not saying what the track is. I just am saying that I'm gonna do it as part of my set. It's not one of my tracks. Feeling a little bit better. I do still have that cold, but I did make the gig that I had tonight. I played Sun Ambulance, one of the mini bands I'm in. We opened for this band from Portland. Apparently, the women are originally from Minneapolis, Candace, but we played at Brothers Lounge here in town. Brothers is a musicians hangout, and it's one of those places where you will be surprised who you might run into there when it comes to internationally known artists. We had a good show. I hate to admit that I made the biggest mistake of the band. I had to miss practice yesterday. I tried to bone up today. We do this older song by Sun Ambulance for the first time tonight. We played it live with me. I played it with them for the first time. Chlorophyll from their album Key. Really like the song, but it has a lot of changes, and I, damn it, missed one, And I obviously pride myself in still have my band on from the show, Brothers Lounge. I pride myself on doing well, but there it was, had to grin and bear it, Obviously, the audience, maybe a few folks noticed it, but I asked a couple of musicians who were in the audience, and they missed it. But the drummer and Dylan caught it. Dang it! It's like it's just this one change that I mixed it. Missed. Anyway, Sun Ambulance, good band. Something else that happened today that I'm glad that I was better for. I did an interview with a jazz singer, a well-known jazz singer from the Midwest, Karen Allison. Karen Allison, who is originally from a small town in Kansas, but for a time lived here in Omaha in the 80s, actually, while she was going to college. And she's known now as a jazz singer, internationally. Has quite the reputation, but I also remember her from back when she was in an all-female, all-girl band called Tomboy here in Omaha, and did some gigs. One of the bands I was in, related to the band Scudder that I'm in now. We did at least one gig with Tomboy, which she remembered. Long story short was that she's on tour, played in Lincoln. My friend and bandmate Jeff Morris in Scudder, who was behind helping put together the band Tomboy back in the 80s, asked me if I would be interested in interviewing Karen for my radio show, and I said absolutely. My Karen is how you say her name, Karen Allison. Let me get it straight. She's a wonderful jazz singer, and her style is definitely blues-based standards, but she does pop and other things. She does some Brazilian music, but she's really good. And the fact that she's from the Midwest, I just said to myself, well, this is just more than enough reason to feature her on the show. So I did that interview with her today, and she gave me this. This is her 2011 CD. She's got a bunch, actually. Has quite a career dating back to the 90s, and was with the label Concord Jazz for quite a bit of that time. She's just started her own label, which she was sharing with me, and she's about to release her first album of original material ever in her life, which she's excited about, and I'm excited for her too. Check her out. She is, I would say, honestly, much more nuanced and resonant and sensitive jazz singer than, say, someone that you know of, like Diana Krall. I would put this woman more in the, what's that woman's name? Is it Diane Shure? And then Cassandra Wilson. And then we talked, and some of her influences which come through are folks like Nancy Wilson. Yeah, the woman can sing. That was a real nice, this was a real nice highlight of the afternoon to do the interview with Karen. And it's just one of those little things that's satisfying about how my life is going, where since I left my desk job, I've been able to pursue just living a life that is surrounded by music and art for the most part. It's just really, mostly just, I love it. Don't have a whole lot of records out here to show. We'll see what happens. See, that's why I said, you know what I mean? That other video ended up being long because I just had a lot of stuff that had kind of built up, and I needed to talk, and it was a stress reliever. It was. And, well, I can share this. I think this would be cool to share. As you folks know that follow me, know that I have struck up a long-distance friendship with the members of the band The Muffins, Dave Newhouse, and associated with that band, I've met musicians long distance. Brett Harold Hart. I'm trying to find the CD. I was hoping I kept it right here. And we've been talking about her quite a bit lately. Carla Deratz. The Deratz CD. I must have it out somewhere. I've been playing it. Well, what I want to share, some other musicians too. So other people related to them. Deratz is here somewhere. Well, I just wanted to share. I know I told you that she was coming to America to do this concert with the Deratz people, Brett and Dave, and it happened this last weekend in Maryland. I'm jealous. Yeah, I wish I could have been there. Turns out that some people that I have not met in real life, but are on the internet, I know on the internet, went to the show. I, again, really didn't know their proximity, although if I probably not snooped, but looked more closely at their pages and their background, I might know. But Tony Vega went to the show of Deratz, took a bunch of pictures, and Two Sticks, Gary Maiulo, is that how you say your name, Gary? Gary Maiulo? He ended up going to the show and played. Lots of pictures online. I feel privileged that I got to privately share with Brett some footage of the concert. And my review, although the concert footage is not publicly available yet, I don't know what's going to happen with it. But things just really came together when Carla started to sing. You the fellas had a short amount of time to put together the live music. Myself being a person that plays a lot, you can tell these things, and so it's like it took time for things to kind of do this. You know what I mean? And Carla's voice just really kind of like, okay, here we go. Unfortunately, Carla won't be able to come to Omaha. There's somewhat of a bit of relief to it for me, actually, because Carla was, originally going to try to come and stay for a week, and I could accommodate her here. But if you saw how I live as a bachelor here, you would see that, I live with certain aspects of my house that if I had a wife, she wouldn't stand for. I need some repairs on my bathroom plumbing, things like that, my kitchen, my washer, some pretty, and I just work around it as I, kind of just piecemeal. I'll be able to get it fixed, which I will. And so those are some things I was concerned about, being able to host her, comfortably here. Thankfully, I did have someone who offered to help with a couple days staying at their apartment because they have property. But, Carla and I talked, and she realized that the distance from Maryland to Omaha is really much further than she realized. United States compared to Europe, is much, any of you folks that have traveled, that, comparatively, the countries packed together in Europe compared to the states in Europe, in America. So she's going to go to Chicago, and I can't afford to go there to meet her. But we talked, and I tell you what, I feel okay just rambling on here from the feedback you folks gave me, which is that, you kind of miss me just talking. So I don't mind just talking if you really want to just hear what's going on with me. Bless you all. Bless you. So I do honestly feel this connection with a lot of musicians, actually, but with Carla and Dave and Brett, Mark Stanley, Gary, as I get to, geez, Gary, I'm seeing that you're just a huge of a Genesis fan, or if not more than myself, looking at your collection. Tony, who I see his post on Instagram, as well as on Facebook, and I wasn't making the connection. I was realizing through energy that a lot of posts that Tony does, are directed at not just me, but me and a circle, of people. I know I got that right, Tony. Thank you. It's very cool that we're there, and apparently he traveled to go to the show. I'm not sure where from, but obviously it was not as far for him to travel as it would have been for me. So I won't be able to record directly live with Carla, but I did, like I tell you, submit my bass part for a collaboration that Carla sang on. And the bass part that with Mark Stanley, I kept my part simple, and primarily it was because of the power of the way that Carla interpreted this piece of music by Mark Stanley. I look forward to how and when it's presented publicly, if it is. I'm thinking it is going to be. So yeah, I have already had the opportunity to work with Carla. I was hoping to meet her. But on to a little bit of music. Something that I just played, and it's really just about just appreciating the records and the fact that they're here. And I can't go out and buy a lot of new stuff, but with all of this content, there's a lot of stuff I haven't listened to in a long time. And here's one, this Italian band, Aquafragile. This is the U.S. version of, I believe, their first album, or possibly 2 albums. I think their first album. But it was given a title in America, Mass Media Stars. Folks that like prog rock and know the Italian school know about this band and know that Bernardo Lanzetti, the singer, went on to PFM after this band. But this is a great album, and I had forgotten how good. Of course, I love the Italian school of prog in general. Very flamboyant, very very emotive, very dramatic. As opera. I mean, you talk about the home of opera. This is a great album. Just inventive playing, fresh. I like the picture that they use for this because, for me, it captures a lot of the feeling of the album. It feels like the sun is shining on the music, and it captures a moment in time. I'll tell you what. I do love sharing my nerdy enthusiasm about music. It's just really one of the simple pleasures of life, and it's wonderful that I'm not alone, obviously not alone, in how it touches me and touches people. But it's little things like that, being able to just communicate that little thing that I appreciate, and obviously probably some other people too do. The idea that music can sound like the sun is shining on it, or the opposite, or all the different shades in between. How music can put you in a dark room, or sit you in a corner, or just make you feel certain things. That takes me back to the interview with Karen Allison, which I will be editing and featuring on my Roots of Electric Jazz radio show in the future. I'm going to wait when she sends me some tracks, once they're mixed, from her upcoming solo CD. I'm going to get to feature some of that exclusively. Probably one of the first people on radio. I'm really excited. This was just wonderful. But some of the stuff that she's interpreted, which I have got to hear, is some Joni Mitchell. I absolutely love Joni Mitchell. And we talked about that, how a song can have such a universal effect on people. It doesn't have to be all exactly the same, but it's there, and it's just a beautiful thing. This is a very, very personal album, Blue, and in a lot of ways it's a groundbreaking album in Western pop music. Very, very, I've used this word a lot lately because it is the right word, naked. You could say passionate, but no, that's not the thing. The woman here is hurting, And Joni, again, I fully accept how I may sound hypocritical, how I'll lament not listening to words, and now I'm going to wax poetic about words, because, in fact, I do appreciate how Joni is one of those people who her wordsmith is. It's amazing how she can just say something that is happening that anyone could say, but she'll just put it in a way, and you feel it, and it's like, whew. So yeah, I do enjoy sharing this with. Now here's something that's sitting out that I haven't got to yet that I want to play. Barry Adamson, Black Amour. This is a 12-inch single. Barry Adamson was the bass player in Magazine. Again, another person I can count as a role model in a way. I mean, it's like he's a black man playing music, not even traditional, or not traditional, but non-mainstream. Magazine are a badass band. I've got Magazine back here. I could probably just grab a couple. You know how deep the Magazine is here. But he's done a lot of soundtrack music, and music that sounds like it's made for detective movies and stuff. And this is one I just need to listen to. The cover, it's going to sound like the cover. Barry Adamson. Sitting here, are there any other things I haven't shown here? I will give a shout out again to Tweedo. I've heard back from at least 3 people who have sought this out and bought it. So congratulations, Tweedo. I will also say that I missed a deadline, but it wasn't that crucial. They offered to me a chance to do a remix of one of the tracks on here, sent me the spines, but I don't have a lot of experience with remixing, and with my schedule, I didn't have the time. If that was the only thing I was doing, I probably could have done a remix. I did open them up and try something, but something else I played a while back, and it's sitting out. I'll show it. David Sylvian had a project with his brother Steve Jansen called Nine Horses, and this is Money for All. I think it's the whole album, yeah. And I wonder if David Sylvian is done with regular music. The last few things he's done have been really sound. But I love his... When I first heard them, you know, they were kind of like wannabe, kind of trashy glam. And he was kind of riding, in my opinion, on the Bryan Ferry wave of that vibrato in his voice. Whether it was natural or not, the first thing I thought of was Bryan Ferry. Now, David Sylvian, bless him, has obviously made a career in taking it and done his own thing with it. But I acknowledge that right away, that Roxy Music connection, which I've heard him deny. You know, it's all right. But I like David Sylvian's music, and this is some good stuff. Money for All. All this stuff can be listened to online. I would love to do needle drops for you. And I do imagine that if I lived in Europe like Diana does, that the law would be a little less stringent. I don't think it's my perception that, you know, I deal with the brain police here in America. This fascist state that it's become, not becoming, that it has become. We're living in it now. Here's some stuff still sitting out that I've been listening to. Been getting into Hiromi Hosono. I showed you some Yellow Magic Orchestra yesterday. Love that band. And Hiromi Hosono is the original. He's the originator of the band. I believe that Sakamoto comparatively has garnered over the years more public attention, but Harry Hosono has the long track, and I just got to give him props whenever possible. And I was listening to this project he did called HIS Hosono Iwa and Sugi. See, I can't quite say their names. The fella here, who has passed away, has had quite a history of rock, and I have a single he did with Sakamoto. And the young lady, she has her own history, beautiful voice. They do a really cool, strange, acoustic version of Purple Haze on here. And then, I don't speak Japanese, but I just love I love what I get out of this music. Feeling, atmosphere, a place to live. When I play music, the space I'm in, you know, whatever room it is, this room which I'm very comfortable in, my living room as well, and with other people, the music transforms the space. For me, for most people. You know, that's why we have ambient music. That's why you have music, you know. It's much more than that, but that's why, for me, not being able to speak these different languages, although it could be and likely is an impediment to a true deep understanding and appreciation of a lot of music that I hear, I'll grant that, I still get from the music a lot. From the music alone. Okay, putting in the wrong thing. Here's another Hosono release. Flying Saucer, 1947. Harry Hosono and the World Shyness. This is where he takes stuff that he's done electronically as well as music of the era. See what these instruments he's playing going back to probably the turn of the 20th century, you know. Tin Pan Alley. You know, he did a thing called Tin Pan Alley, so this is him getting back to his roots. Pistol Packin' Mama is the first track on here, but if you know his SFX album, you know that he does Body Snatchers on here, and you don't recognize it at all. It's not electronic. Hosono is a genius, and I wax enthusiastic about a lot of things. I may use words too often, but I mean them when I say them. I mean it when I say that I consider Hosono one of the godfathers of electronic music in a lot of ways, and a genius. And I was listening to this compilation of some of his Tin Pan Alley era music. I don't read Japanese, but it's like it's from his first albums. Hiromi Hosono. Great musician. Great musician. The world should know about, well, the world in ways does, but mainstream America just doesn't know anything about music. I mean, it does, but it doesn't, you know. That's why I talk about this music. You know, try not to have too much of an attitude, but we all have an attitude. I actually put this on because I have this, probably got it as a promo for my brother years ago. Morrissey, Alma Matters, 3 songs from the album Maladjusted. You know, I'm over it. I took it off, you know, just like, I like the Smiths. I still like the Smiths. Don't play them. Keep them. I have the Smiths that I keep. I've got a couple Morrissey things, but this, it didn't cut it. And if I could meet Morrissey, he'd be someone that would be interesting to talk to, you know. He has nothing that he needs to reveal to me, but I think I could have a real conversation with anyone, really. Morrissey, you know, he really knows how to drum up publicity, kind of like somebody else we're dealing with, you know, a certain clown that has no business trying to run this country. Oh, wow. I've gone longer than I realized. See, that's the beauty of these, and it's time to go to bed. So what I'm going to do is upload this it'll be, and so I'll put the date because it is now Tuesday. It's 12:54 here in the morning. So it is Tuesday, March 27th. I'll put that as the date. Hello, Garrett. Hello, Keith. And yes, Garrett, I have met Herbie Hancock. Yes, I have. It was back in the 90s. I have a picture of us together. I was happy to make his eyebrows go up when I told him that my favorite album by him is Crossings. And his eyebrows went, oh, really? Just like that. He had never had anyone refer to this album about anything, basically. I mean, I'm sort of giving it that emphasis, but he did say no one has ever said that to me, that this album is their favorite Hancock, and it is one of mine. And it is beat because this is the copy that I bought in 1972. 1972. This is the copy I bought in 1972. Haven't replaced it since. It is still quite playable. But I love this album so much that I took it around. People who know me knew. I tried to take care of the record. You can see the record's in pretty good shape. But I took this record to a lot of smoking sessions and hangouts with friends, making sure that people heard this. And I do think it's a masterpiece. His work with Patrick Gleason. See how I'm going? I need to stop. Patrick Gleason, who helped to break Hancock in on using the synthesizer, is all over this album. And Quasar. Oh, man. This whole album. A good friend of mine, Gary Beck, I'll say him his full name, Gary. Wonderful brother. It's like family. I'll never forget a time when I was still living at home, so I was still maybe 20 years old, maybe. Probably younger than that, actually, yeah. Because I bought this in 72, okay? So I was still in high school. But I remember one time, Gary stopped by the house, my mom's house, when we lived on 35th and Seward. And he had a little bit of weed, and I had a little bit of weed, and we went up to my room. And I'd had an experience with this album, and I wanted to share it with Gary. So I said, you know, let's smoke up, and I'm gonna cover the window here and turn out the lights, and we're going to listen to this. And sure enough, we left the planet. I mean, I don't know how long we babbled after this was over. I mean, I went into space, and he did too. Yeah, meeting Herbie Hancock was real special. He is a genius. I can go on, can I? See, don't I sound kind of, I need to stop here. Okay. Much love, people. Oh, see, I am going to go a little bit further, okay? Because if you follow me on Facebook, you can see that I have been pretty verbal these last 2 days, speaking up, kind of in the wake of the march, which is a further advancement of this seemingly movement of awakening, of people trying to say, hey, we do recognize that we're in a bad way and we've got to turn this around. And so I just wanted to say on the record, and I'm ready for any backlash, because I cannot think of a good reason to be hateful of my fellow human being, any of them, including the ones who are crushing the common man under their heel, the 1/10 of 1 to 10%. I love them as part of humanity, but I am going to continue to, when I feel it, say that this isn't cool. That this defense of the current regime that we're under, and this whole tone of he's getting this job done. What the hell are you talking about? This is not okay. It's not well. And I will speak out that we need wellness, and that I'm not the only one aware of it, but I'll say it, I've seen it. We are slaves to the market. The marketplace is an integral part of life, and historically it's been, a centerpiece of societies and cities and places where people gather. But because of greed, and I will keep saying that, you can tell me I'm oversimplifying, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a lot when I say greed, but that has a lot to do with this culture that we live in, where it's just so untogether, so not flowing, so much static. And the thing, I keep getting back to commerce and economy, because people who are in charge of the large flow of economy, with that being their focus, money, a lot of what's being pushed out and sent out, with that being the focus, is so unwell. And I, for one, will continue to just, when I feel the need, to just say, yeah, if you're having an increasing awareness of this effect on you and not liking it, that's a good thing. If we can somehow start moving towards actions that unseat people who are in power merely because they have the money to be there, where we can somehow get representation, where we can do things more in a direction that allows life to improve, as opposed to seeing that life is good for some, and because they have it good, it's shoved on everyone else's throat, and we have to say that, well, I guess it's good for everyone because we've got these toys, we've got TV, I've got these records, I see that. But when you look at the much larger picture, you know what I'm saying, especially people who live, or even in this country, the homeless. See, I'm going on. Even in this country, the homeless and the people who are dirt poor, and I myself I don't have any money, you know, I'm rich in the heart. It's inexcusable. We've invented poverty. This is a known fact. This is a science. This is a fact. Poverty was invented. There's no lack of anything. There's too much. The statistic hasn't changed, and I imagine it's probably correct that still, not just in America, but in a large portion of so-called civilized countries, we discard almost 50% of the food, and yet we're focused on the people who are gaining just have to have more, and the profits have to continue to rise, and that's just the way that it ain't nothing trickling down. I mean, it is, but it's not. You know what I'm saying? Some businesses are doing well, but people like Toys R Us and a lot of business are shutting down. You know what I'm saying? We don't get a fair picture through the media because it's owned by a small group who are, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot I'm not aware of, but what I'm aware of, you know, lets me know that I ain't gonna be dumb and just drink the Kool-Aid and pretend that, oh, everything's gonna be all right. Just give him time. He knows what he's doing. Bullshit. And then this rise of just stupidity, racism, tribalism, just blind. I only see what I want to see. I live in a bubble. Nah, 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 nah. We got that going on bad. One of the things I'll be thinking in my mind a lot is I think of my grandparents and some of the wise people when I was a kid that I admired and looked up to and who wouldn't take shit, you know, and would let everyone know. Not that they were perfect, but just that they were out there. They were the wise ones trying to say, okay, get your shit together. Man, I wish some of those people were around. I wish we would hear from the ones that were around, because we have a lot of immature, selfish motherfuckers running things. And just one of the things that I see that I want to say here, you know, and God forbid that I haven't been censored, because it is that fascist that people are getting censored and blocked and having stuff erased off of YouTube and Facebook and stuff. But I'll see in my feed, because this YouTube is my TV. I don't have cable, so I watch the news, etc., on YouTube. And in my recommendations, I don't watch CNN, but it always comes up. And they always have these ones with Trump's face on it, you know, Trump update, Trump this, Trump that. And it's always these pictures where he looks like he's mocking us, like he's saying, I got it and you don't, fuck you. I mean, I read body language well. I mean, I was trained as well as it being who I am. See, I can go on. I need to stop here, you know. But do you catch me? Okay? Yeah, this is personal. But we're in this together, people. So I'm just not going to tolerate negative, hateful, bullshit, personal stuff from people. It's like, come on, people, wake up. We are in this together. You can't sit in a boat that is a boat and act like your end is the good end while you've pushed everyone to this other end. And it's like there's this delicate balance. And if you don't fuck up, and if we don't fuck up, or you know what I'm saying, we are fucked up now. That's why I say these things. It's kind of like voices need to be raised that are trying to encourage objectiveness and a more, not tolerant, but loving stance. Because some bullshit doesn't really ought to change for the benefit of us, of all of us. You know, there's things that I'm willing to change. I've made sacrifices and willing to make more. But isn't that a bitch that the people who don't have anything are the ones who are the first ones to talk about, we're willing to sacrifice for the sake of others so that we all get ahead, when we're facing these monstrous, greedy motherfuckers who have the gall. Come on, people. You see it too. And if you don't, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you really have it that good? And some people do. It's like you can live in a bubble. There are people who are probably watching this who are cursing me and saying, because they don't see this. They don't see what I'm talking about. I do understand that. But I'm not going to stop bringing it up because that's what I'm living. And that's what I'm seeing. And I'm not making it up. And like Elvis Costello has said, my aim is true. Okay? My aim is true.